Episode 171 of Livestream Insiders. Hello, I'm Peter Stewart. On the way today with me and Krishna Day, we've got newly updated Twitch stats, also YouTube's new community guidelines explained, why Facebook Watch is fast becoming Facebook Don't Watch. Plus, we've got some really interesting updates for you. Audio live streaming, green screening, and Instagram as well. And for the first time, I think in over 4 years, we're not live tonight because of a few technical problems. However, we are here, and Krishna Day is my co-host as usual.
Thanks everybody for joining us here. You'll be watching us here as a Facebook premiere. If you're watching on Facebook, and if you're watching elsewhere, or you're listening to the podcast, then it really won't matter to you. We really appreciate you being here because we love sharing news, tools, tips, case studies. And I'm really looking forward to sharing with you a new tool that I've been testing out over the last couple of weeks. I'm going to pass it straight back to Peter, though, because we've got lots of things to cover for you in terms of on the show today.
Absolutely. So let's start off with those Twitch stats. And a new study saying that some American-based Twitch are coining it in. They are cashing in the checks that they are getting, because it grew to nearly 9,800 in 2017, a 59% increase from 2016, and they made an estimated $87 million. That's a 30% increase. Now, obviously, these stats are just limited to the US. However, that's where an awful lot, the vast majority of Twitchers are based. And of course, it really still gives the impression that live streaming is still a really big thing. And it makes also the point, this article from TechCrunch.com, it goes on to say that streamers pretty much still reasonably unidentified. Yes, they're really huge in their own communities, in their own in their own businesses, in their own niches, but to the general population, they are nobodies. You can still walk down a high street and you can pass a Twitcher walking the other way and not know that they are a multi-millionaire, because of course the main thing is that in their communities they are really big news and they're earning really big bucks. The gaming industry is really where, of course, Twitch earned its real name, and this is where people are really earning their income, even though, of course, it's categorized in many other areas as well. But the esports business is really, really big, and that's how Twitch started up. And the gaming industry itself growing by double-digit percentages year on year for the past 2 years. Now, finally, let me just say, I've mentioned really big bucks. Let me tell you about one guy who goes by the name of Ninja, who made nearly $10 million in 2018. Boy, oh boy, where did I go wrong? The links to that article will be posted here soon, but also if you want to check it out for yourself ahead of time, it's TechCrunch.com.
It's really quite amazing in terms of how people have been able to create new careers for themselves in terms of being influencers in that way. Peter, you might have seen this piece of news, and in fact, because my daughters, two of them in particular, actually follow lots of people on Instagram, I wanted to check out with them if they knew of this account already, because I actually got twin daughters, and there's an account that's been set up. It's been going for some time. Their parents are YouTubers themselves and actress, and one of them is an actress. And actually, it's these twins. They're 2.5 years old, and they've got a huge following on Instagram. But guess what? They've got a baby sister coming this month, and that baby sister actually also has, hundreds of thousands of followers before it's even born. It's only got one announcement image there, no picture, just a little, graphic there. So it's no wonder that actually people are looking at different careers going forward. Let's take a look, though, in terms of back to the idea of YouTubers. Perhaps you actually are not aware of something that's recently happened. You might be live streaming on lots of platforms. You might even be live streaming on YouTube. You may even be taking, as we do, our content and actually repurposing that content and publishing it on other platforms, such as on YouTube after a live stream on Facebook. And I actually was quite surprised that I've seen very few people talk about this update to YouTube. And it's really important, if you are using YouTube, that you're aware of it. Now, this is to do with the new system for community guidelines and strikes for community guidelines. This is different to copyright. There are different copyright rules as well. This is specifically if you breach the community guidelines. So in the curation today, I've put for you lots of resources, a couple of the videos that were done about this announcement, which actually has already gone live as at the 25th of February 2019. But because we're seeing so few people talk about it, other than a couple of notable big YouTubers, I just think it's a really important thing for us to be aware of, because it might be you're just not yet exploring using YouTube Live, but you might be using YouTube in any way to actually promote your business, share how-to tips, publish testimonials. Make sure you're familiar with the guidelines. Let me go through a few things that are really important for us to be aware of. So these guidelines came into effect from the 25th of February, and basically all channels will receive a one-time warning if they actually post content that actually does not comply with their guidelines. Now, that first-time warning, there won't be a penalty to the channel except for the removal of the content that was related to that community guidelines strike. So that's really to make sure that everybody gets a shot across the bow, to make sure they're aware that there are community guidelines. And I know it's so easy, isn't it? When you join a community, you set up a new page on a social network to actually say, oh yeah, I understand your terms and conditions, click straight through. I would think that many people that I've worked with over the years have not actually taken a look at the community guidelines and are not aware of the different policies that they have there on YouTube. They're also expanding policy resources. I've actually made some of those available in the curation, and they're going to put more information available in terms of what behaviour from us as content creators would actually result in a strike. That includes detailed examples of the kind of content that actually commonly breaks the rules. They're actually changing also the the penalty if you actually violate the community guidelines. And it's going to be the same wherever it happens. So up to now, it might have been different. For example, if you'd actually posted on a video, if it was to do with a custom thumbnail that you used, if it was to do with links to other websites you were sharing, if it was to do with information in your little video description or information card. So they're actually making sure that it's the same strike guideline in terms of what happens for us, wherever that might be. So the other thing is, first strikes on videos would use it in the past would trigger a 90-day freeze on live streaming. Now that was humongous. I remember having a community guidelines strike late last year, and actually there was nothing I'd done wrong. I actually did appeal and my content got back reinstated. And sometimes somebody can report you for a community guidelines strike, perhaps let's just say in terms of being a little mischievous, and there was quite a lot of that going on at the end of 2018. I saw a lot of people writing about that at the time. And so one of the things that it was actually quite confusing for people, and people were very frustrated, particularly in terms of if they were a live streamer, to get a 90-day freeze on being able to live stream. And then second strikes would result in a 2-week freeze on video uploads. And so people were very, very confused by this. So now there actually are some guidelines that have been published. Let me tell you in terms of just in summary what these are. So firstly, the first strike will result in a 1-week strike, a freeze on the ability to upload any new content to YouTube. So if you get a strike, you cannot upload any content to YouTube during that next week. And that includes you will not be able to live stream, and you won't be able to do any other channel activities. The strikes will disappear after 90 days. The second strike, so if you breach it again, in any 90-day period, will result in a 2-week freeze on the ability to upload any new content to YouTube. And the third strike in any 90-day period will result in a channel termination. So it's really interesting that in some ways this is actually better for us as live streamers, because if you are using YouTube for live streaming, to have a 90-day strike on that in terms of being able to use YouTube to live stream to would have been really a problem, I think, for a lot of people. And therefore, this new set of rules actually, I think, makes it a little bit easier. However, they're going to be coming hard down in terms of on any breaches. So I definitely recommend that you take the time to actually review the community guidelines, have a look at the little videos that I've posted that have been used to promote it, and also look at the help pages that YouTube have provided. We've also linked to a blog post that they used to actually make this announcement. So that's a little bit of reading and homework to do during the course of the week ahead, and we hope that you find that of assistance.
Krishna, thank you for that. So we've got a few updates for you. An update from Facebook and Facebook Watch. Krishna is back in a few moments' time with an update to Periscope as well. Our old friends at Periscope out of San Francisco are going great guns because they've made an update to something they introduced, about 6 or 8 weeks ago, which was really, really interesting, and which Facebook had as a feature, but then subsequently dropped. Krishna's got the gen for you in a few moments' time. First of all, what's happening over at Facebook Watch? Well, Facebook are saying, you know what, we're not going to keep doling out the money to all of these companies that we've previously been paying to produce content. Where have we heard that before? Could it have been Facebook themselves ahead of that huge live streaming excitement about 18 months, 2 years ago? Indeed. And then they subsequently pulled the plug and upset an awful lot of companies and digital agencies who were producing Facebook Live content for them because they thought that was going to be the next huge thing, that they were going to be paid by Facebook to produce the content. Quite a few people lost their jobs subsequently. Now it seems to be happening all over again with Facebook Watch. Facebook understandably saying, look guys, we're not going to be paying out millions of dollars to create content that frankly nobody is watching. So overall, Facebook has launched 21 shows on Facebook Watch, but they're only going to be renewing about a third of those. They say we're still going to be experimenting and finding if we can find another niche or an area of programming that really, really interests people, that's going to get those bums on seats and the eyes on the screens. They're just going to be more selective and more careful about who it is that they're paying to create this kind of content. Kind of makes sense, doesn't it? If you're not getting the views, or if you're not doing it for some other reason, maybe it's to promote yourself or your business, or a way of collating information, or getting a word out, or something for your CV, or something for your resume or whatever. If you're not actually making money, then there perhaps is a reason to stop doing it. So they're going to be looking to spend less per show. $90 million is how much, is how deep Facebook's pockets are as far as Facebook Watch goes at the moment. They're going to be spreading that over more programs. So the budget's going to be staying the same. They're going to be pulling the plug on some programs, but they're going to be giving less to programs, but spending it wider and further afield to see if they can't find what that holy grail is. So one particular business said, hey guys, you've reduced our show's budget by around about 30%. Obviously, that's going to cause really, really big problems. However, there is still a way that you can make a little bit of money, because Facebook is allowing publishers to sell some of the adverts. Now, previously, Facebook was selling all the adverts inside of Facebook Watch. It makes sense, doesn't it, if they're actually putting up the upfront costs. And now Facebook and the publisher are going to be sharing in that ad revenue. How much do you reckon, Christian? I don't know whether you saw this earlier on. What percentage of that ad revenue is Facebook going to be taking for itself? What do you reckon? 10, 20, 30?
It's got to be more than that based on the way you said it.
45%, ladies and gentlemen, 45% of that money from ad revenue Facebook is going to be taking back. So that's kind of understandable, I suppose, if they're putting up that upfront cost in the first place, allowing you to, not all of the upfront cost, of course, but allowing you to take a grand old 55% of the ad revenue that you actually go out and walk the streets and pound the phones to actually get in the very first place. Details via digiday.com, and you heard about it here on Livestream Insiders.
One of the things that you might know about Peter is he works for a news organisation, and you might have seen that a news organisation in the UK, because I know that many of you are actually in the UK or Ireland who watch the show, actually was starting a new Facebook Watch news show, because they put a lot of investment, as Peter was saying, behind news shows being on Facebook. And so as preparation for today's show, I went along and had a look to see if I could find it. So again, we've actually put information about that launch. It was launched earlier on this year. It's actually from Channel 4 News, and they've got a once a week show. So if you're interested in terms of how news organisations in Europe are actually using Facebook Watch, that might be of interest. And the other one that you might be interested in, I saw an announcement about this, I don't know if you saw it, Peter, it was to do with Will Smith. And Will Smith has had a key birthday recently, and so he's decided to do a bucket list, and he's actually doing it in collaboration with Facebook. So he's got a bucket list he's going through, and he's actually bringing his bucket list show of about 20 odd minutes each episode over onto Facebook Watch. So I think that's quite interesting that we're seeing celebrities such as that who've already got huge followings actually setting up something like that. I think there was somebody who was a celebrity in the UK recently who did something similar with their son over 6 weeks or something on one of the TV channels, and I just thought, okay, that's interesting. They've taken TV, and whereas Will's gone down the route of, I guess he doesn't have to go to a TV channel and pick it up. Perhaps he's hoping that he will get picked up by a news organisation or a TV channel in the future, or Netflix or whoever else might put money behind him. But for the moment, he's with Facebook Watch. So you might want to have a look at that. It's interesting because we can see that also, even though we're sitting in Europe. So it's not actually, I had a look at it, it's not banned for us to be able to take a look at. So again, just take a look at some of the different things that people are doing over on Facebook Watch. I'm really excited about this next update that I have for you. In fact, it's a tool that I've been reviewing. So I've got one piece of news Peter alluded to about Periscope, but I wanted to tell you about this new tool that I've been testing. And in fact, I've got a full tutorial that you can go and have a look at. And the reason that I'm excited about it is that I know many of us struggle in terms of having a setup, whether you're in an office, whether you're doing live streaming from your home, whether you're on the go, and particularly if you're not just looking to do it from mobile. There's lots of different tools you can use for mobile, and I know lots of people prefer to do so on desktop. To have a green screen is one option, but actually that does take a lot of work. You've got to make sure there's no creases in it. You've got to make sure you've got really good lighting. It does take a little bit of work to actually get your green screen perfect. And therefore, I was interested to see that a platform, a tool that you might know of called XSplit, we have talked about them previously on the show, very well known tool, particularly for gamers, actually came out with a product late last year which was integrated into their premium package. However, as of 2019, they've now made this available as a standalone product, and it's a virtual green screen. So, of course, I was really interested in testing this out, both in terms of what would it work with in terms of live streaming tools. Perhaps you want to use it for online meetings. Now, you might remember a few weeks ago, we talked about the importance of your background in terms of actually what you're using in terms of your live stream. And we actually talked about the fact that Skype have recently released on desktop the ability to blur your background. But they do have a little disclaimer to say that, it may not always be perfect. But they're using artificial intelligence to be able to do that. In the case of this particular product, it's by XSplit. It's called Vcam. And it's a one-off payment that you make. You might want to just follow them for a while, because I know they've had a couple of different offers on. They've actually allowed people to trial it for a period of time. They had a half-price offer on. I'm sure they'll do something again. But it's actually pretty inexpensive to use. And you install the piece of software. It's independent of XSplit, so you can just download it. You don't have to have an XSplit license. Just download this piece of software. It's retailing for about $50 at the moment. And it allows you to then put a transparent background, if you wish to, in terms of on your camera. So it works like a virtual camera. You set it up front, saying, this is the camera I wanted to use it with, and then it will automatically recognize. It'll do a few tests to calibrate it, And so then once it's calibrated, you'll be able to then use it with other tools. So it might not work with your tools. That's the only thing I'd say. So for example, I could not get it to work with BlueJeans, but it did get it to work with lots of other tools, including Zoom. I know a lot of people use Zoom for online meetings and for webinars. Now, I didn't test it with their webinar platform, but I did test it with their Zoom platform, and it actually performs much better. Sorry, Zoom, performs much better than Zoom's ability. They actually have a way that you can put a virtual background in. So you can see in my tutorial about the screenshots I did in terms of testing it out with Zoom and also Zoom's own tool. But one of the things you can do is you can actually put as a virtual background a web page. So you could put a URL there. So without having to use things like, if you're on a PC, you might use Wirecast, you might use vMix. I know that if you're on a Mac, there's a great product called Ecamm, and they have an integration there, and it works really well for green screening. However, not all of us are on a Mac. And so if you're on a PC, you may not want to go to the expense and all the learning of actually using tools like vMix, like Wirecast, like OBS. And so this is a really good, inexpensive little tool that you can actually look to use. And so what you can do is take out the background. You can replace it with a background, as I said, in terms of it could be a web page. Alternatively, if you don't want to actually use a web page, you can actually have an image that you can actually use. And so you can actually upload your own image. So in the article, I used an example of an image from the Livestream Insiders. However, what they also have is an integration with Unsplash. So you can go onto the app, you can actually, it's a desktop app, search for a photograph or an image within Unsplash or under a keyword and add that. So that's what I've actually done also in terms of you'll be able to see in the tutorial. And then you can also blur your background. So going back to the Skype example where you could blur your background, actually this allows you to upload an image and blur your background. And so I'd say, if you're going to use something like this, make sure it's something that's on brand, consistent. Don't try and pretend to be somewhere that you're not. We don't want you kind of sharing fake news, so to speak. But I do think for the cost of it, it's a really good tool to have in your tool bag. Particularly, I could see this working well. Like, for example, Peter's off to a conference shortly, and let's say I was accompanying him, I might decide to do some live streaming with his permission of some things, and might do some conversations with other people. If I want to do that off desktop, you don't want to be taking along a green screen, even if you can pull it up. You've got no facility there to easily add lighting. You can just do this from your web camera attached to your PC, and you can actually put up your green screen there. You take a photograph on the day, use that as something to actually show what it might be like. Really good. Lots of other things that I think they could do with the tool, and you can actually read that in my article over on krishna.me. My second thing I want to share with you today in terms of updates is Periscope. And so I was really excited to see this. If you are using Periscope and you're using on the iPhone, take a look at the latest update. I installed it this week. It's version 1.31. And you remember a few weeks ago we talked about the fact that you can now broadcast with other people on Periscope. And when you do that, you can invite people. So before you set up your live stream on Periscope on your mobile app, you say, yes, you want to invite guests, and then you can bring people in. And the guests at this point in time come in by audio only. However, what they've just released is the ability that you as the live streamer may choose sometimes, and we've talked about this quite a number of times, why you might want to stream just with audio rather than video. So now within the app, you actually can choose right up front whether or not you want to stream with just audio rather than video, and then also invite people to join you on a live stream. Now, there are a number of other features that came out with this update. As I said, it's iOS version 1.31, and that includes the fact that actually broadcasters can also use the GoPro as the external camera and still accept guests. So I know people were really happy to see that. And also you can see guests while watching live from your home feed as well. Lots of other updates. Now, one update that isn't working, which I did actually talk about on the Livestream Insider show, that in fact you actually can't share to Twitter. So when I set up a broadcast on Periscope, I also want to share it to Twitter usually to invite people to watch there. However, that has not been available to us. Now, they did announce in this latest update of 1.31 that anybody could share the broadcasts with guests to Twitter. Actually, just checking out on their Twitter account, they actually have announced that isn't working. They're working on that. It's a glitch at this point in time. So I'd anticipate that another update will come through for us during the next few days in terms of for Periscope. But I was really happy to see that they've allowed us not just to have it to stream with video, because sometimes we're in situations where we don't want to do that. We don't, lots of reasons, including privacy reasons, that you may not want to do it. Might be bandwidth reasons, in terms of audio is going to be less demanding in terms of for the live stream than actually using a video, and that might be because of the circumstances, the location you're in, and so on. So really excited to see that update, and thanks Periscope, because they're coming up for their 4th birthday very, very shortly. So it'll be interesting to see if they do anything special to celebrate that 4th birthday. They did for their 1st anniversary. Let's see if they do anything for this anniversary that's coming up this month.
Well, Krishna's always got a finger on the pulse with all of these new updates, and I've spotted something as well. Not by myself. It's not available to me at the moment. I don't think it's available to Krishna either, but it may be worth you checking out to see if you've got an update to Instagram Live. Now, it hasn't actually been rolled out in a major way so far, and it's not a huge update, but what they do reckon is that it may be another way to entice people to be watching. So as you can see, there's a new option that appears at the top of your launch tile, prompting you to add a title for your viewers, as it says there. So as I say, it could get more people to watch your live stream. It's the first image which is shown, and using the words in a description in a similar way to hashtags to uncover related material, people may discover you more. It's much more easy to find what it is that you're talking about, and for people to curate what it is that they're interested in and seeing more about. Small addition, but it may help you boost your viewer numbers and also stickiness as well. And of course, it comes hot on the heels, well, a month or so after the latest way of interacting with people, when that was the way that they started to roll out the new way for people to make those comments on your screen as well, for you to be able as a broadcaster to choose who is commenting and what questions it is that you are answering as a broadcaster. So a bit more polish, a bit more focus as well. Small update, but it goes another step towards perhaps making more people or helping more people discover your show and also to watch it as well. So Krishna, we've covered an awful lot of platforms today, haven't we?
We absolutely have, but that's what you can expect from us here on Livestream Insider. We like to keep our finger on the pulse to make sure we've got all the kind of latest updates that are really important. We try to filter through lots of other news. We just try to bring you the things that are going to be important to you for your communications. Absolutely.
So we'll be back. Don't forget, in 2 weeks' time, because next week you'll find us over on facebook.com/ the Smart Speakers, where we actually present a show on alternate weeks, and it's the alternate week next week. So we're going to be talking about voice and about podcasts and about smart speakers and about audio branding. So here we talk about kind of live video branding for your company, for your business, for your brand, for your non-profit and that kind of thing. And over on the other channel, every other week, we talk about audio, specifically audio branding. And you never know, Krishna perhaps could mention about the Periscope update there, because that's the kind of crossover update on that particular platform that she mentioned a few moments ago. So thanks very much indeed for watching a recorded program this week. We had a few technical problems before we tried to go live, but a recorded program. But thanks anyway for your comments. All of the links have been curated and they're available for you as well. We'll see you in 14 days. Until then, happy live streaming. Keep in touch at Krishna Day on Twitter, at Tweeter Stewart on Twitter, or drop us a line right here on Facebook.